We just got into fall, so I figured we're gonna do a classic winged liner with a dark vampy lip. For the concert, I hadn't done a graphic liner in years, actually years. So my skin is prepped and well hydrated. You always wanna make sure, especially under your eyes, if you have issues with dryness when you put on foundation, concealer, you always wanna make sure you're really well hydrated with a good base before you put on your makeup. I'll go over that in the next video. I'll do everything from the beginning with like the skin and everything. For this look, I'm using the Forever Skin Glow by Dior, one of my favorite foundations. I'm using the shade 3N, and I'm just gonna use my Beauty Blender to pat this into my skin. Beauty Blender or any sponge is always a good option for that really pretty airbrushed, perfect finish. And it gets your base on really fast. Really just such a perfect foundation. It's got the coverage down, like it covers really, really well, but it still stays very fresh and dewy. For my concealer, I'm using the Shade Illuminate by Tom Ford in the shade 2WO. And I'm kind of gonna go for it a little more with concealer. I'm just really focusing on a little more contrast for this look since a graphic liner kind of brings that geometric element into the look. Let's really amp up a little bit of the brightness in the center of the face. And I'm just going to use the pointed side of the Beauty Blender. Again, this is just going to get the job done quickly and efficiently. And really melting that concealer in to blend with your foundation. Now on to contour. I'm using the Hollywood Contour Wand by Charlotte Tilbury. I've been on the hunt. Yesterday we were at Sephora, my girlfriends and I looked at a Makeup by Mario contour stick. Every contouring product I have is very warm. I want something a little more cool, more on the ash side. It's a beautiful product, it blends great, but the Makeup by Mario contour stick, which they didn't have my shade at Sephora, it was so perfect. It was the color of a shadow, if that makes sense. Like you want your contour product to be a little more of an ash tone so that your actual bronzing product can work on warming up your face. But for now, this will be fine. I'm just, again, using the Beauty Blender to blend out. Using a more ash, more cool tone product is just gonna create those contours better than something warmer, which is more so meant to warm up your face, you know, bring a little life to it. So I think we're good to move on. I've kind of been on this no blush kick lately. I have so many pretty new blush shades, really, really nice ones, but for some reason I'm still very much in that neutral zone. So I'm gonna use this again. I think I showed this in the last video, the Filmstar Bronze and Glow. I'm gonna use a big fluffy brush, make sure it's nice and fluffy, and load up on that bronze side. And I'm just gonna kind of circle this over my cheeks. And this is going to bring that warmth that will also act as my blush. So you see how I'm just like lightly going over this whole area, almost in a C. So this is gonna be my blush and my bronze. It's just so much more milky and creamy. I love that monochrome look. That'll always be my favorite look. And then moving on to powder. So for this, I am gonna powder a little bit, actually a little bit more than usual, using the Givenchy loose powder. I've been loving this one. It's really great, and it comes with its own little puff too. So I'm just gonna dump a little bit into the cap here and take that little poof and just kind of load it up. Make sure it's nice and spread out. And then I just kind of fold it up and I start to pat that into my under eye area first and foremost. That's like the part that needs the most setting. And then just a little bit into the rest of my concealer areas. Anywhere I didn't apply concealer, I'm not gonna apply powder. I am gonna just pat into my lids as well because we're not doing an actual shadow. So this is it, monochrome, nice and softly sculpted. I'm gonna move on to the eyes. So I'm gonna start out with the brows, and I'm using a product that's newer to me. This is by Linda Hallberg. It's her Infinity Brows Sketch and Sculpt. This is pretty cool because it's got kind of a pen on one side and then a pencil, a very fine tip pencil on the other side. So I'm gonna actually use the pen because I love the look of the hair-like strokes that it creates. So I'm starting right here at the front of my brows, just creating those hair-like strokes, filling in any spots that look sparse. When it's a pen and you've got makeup on, because there's a base on, it starts to lose its ink, I guess. I'm gonna switch to the pencil side. I've used the pencil side and I really like it. It's really, really good if you're trying to extra sculpt your brows. And then to the other side. For this look, I'm just really wanting a much more polished, sculpted look. Different from when I'm doing a more natural makeup look. Because the liner is so sharp and so like in your face, I want everything else to kind of match that vibe. And then to set my brows, this is like my favorite product of the year by Dominique Cosmetics. It's their Brow Blowout Shaping Brow Gel. Wow, it's so good. And I've been using just like the last drops of it. I need to get some more. But it is so good at brushing up my really thick, dense brows and setting them in place. They look laminated with just like a couple of strokes. It's really just one of the best brow products ever. So let's move on to the actual lids. I'm gonna take an eyeshadow brush and go back into that same bronzer that I used on my face. All I'm gonna do with this is just create a little bit of a contour right here. Not much, just very lightly. It's hardly noticeable, but it just creates more of a kind of a polished, cohesive look. So let's get into it. I'm gonna use the Pat McGrath Labs liquid eyeliner pen. Here's a look at the tip of it. And I'm just gonna hop right into this. So, man, let's go. Starting at the inner corner and just creating a fluid line there. Oh, all right, not bad. Not bad at all. It's a good shape. Let's just smooth that out a little bit. So that's how I feel like is the best way to start a liner, is to, one, say a prayer. Just create the first line and try to be as fluid about it as you can. Because once you have the base, once you have the line drawn on, you want that pen to glide over your eyeball in one fell swoop, as they say. And then you can go into the end of it here and start to create the shape of the wing. So little by little, I'm just shaping the outside here. Because if you remember back when I did the Batman scallop tutorial, that still goes. I mean, right now I've got a pretty good shape going. I still have to work on it a little bit and perfect it a little bit. Because I have deeper set eyes, I have to really focus on this outer corner. If you have more of a mono lid shape, or if your eyes are not as deep set as mine, you're probably going to have an easier time creating this outer corner is really like the biggest challenge. The one thing I will say about liner, have a look at the inner corner of my eye. You want to make sure that when you start, it's not thick, because if you make that inner corner really thick all the way, unless you're actually going for this look, it's gonna make your eyes look closer together. So if you create a thick line right here, it's going to create the illusion of the eyes being closer together. So if you have eyes that you feel like are further apart and you wanna create that look, fine. But for me, I'm trying to create this really like stretched out, lifted look. Not so much like going inward. So let's attempt to make this other side match. Anchor your pinky somewhere on your face, preferably like the outer corner where your temple is. And then, I don't know, I like to do it with my eye open. I feel like it's more effective that way. And then you can let the pen glide over the eyeball easier. So anchor the finger, start right here at the inner corner, thin line, still pretty thin. And then once you get up here, start to allow it to fan out and boom. But you see the initial shape I put down is good. That's what you want to start with. Start with a shape that you're happy with and you can build around it. So what I'm going to do now is, now that I have that right shape, I'm going to start filling in under it. And then once I get out here, I want to continue to develop that wing. And then I need to make this part thicker as well. So past the center of the eye, you want to allow the liner to get quite a bit thicker and then connect. The trouble with a lot of these pens, and I'm finding with this as well, you kind of have to give it breaks, because if it's kind of like this with the ink kind of draining down to the bottom of it and not to the tip, it stops depositing color, which is really annoying. This is why I feel like gel liners and the kind where you can dip back into the pot are, see, now it's working again. Those work better. I need to work on this right here, but they're close. So I was actually gonna add a little more, like a double wing, a little razzle dazzle, something very light, but I'll be really honest, this pen is not good at all. I've been struggling with it this entire video. We'll just keep it classic. We'll keep it to a classic winged eyeliner look. Moving on to mascara, I'm gonna use the Caviar Volume by Laura Mercier. This is an excellent mascara. I've been using it for a few months. So for these lashes, I'm gonna use this pair by Ardell. You can see one is missing because I've already used it. What I do is I take the one strip and I cut it right down the middle, and I use each half for each eye. So here we go, I'm gonna show you how I do this. So taking this strip, I'm going to snip right down the center here, right about there. So now I have two halves that, if I flip that over, will each go, do you see that, on the outer corners of my eyes. So I'm gonna use this duo. I'm just gonna put a small amount on each half, and we're gonna start with this eye here. Again, anchor your hand and just past the center of your eyes, line that up so that the edge, the very end of the lashes, lines up with both the end of your lashes and with the wing. So what this corner lash is gonna do is it's basically aiding the shape of that wing. That's why you want to line it up so that it complements the wing and doesn't fight it. So right now when I'm looking straight ahead, you can see it kind of goes with the wing. It goes in the same shape, in the same direction. That actually ended up perfectly. And it's not too intense. I don't want anything too much. Once again, just make sure you're lining up the end of those lashes with the wing. That just really amped up this liner look. It just gives it like a fluttery, kind of more ethereal look as opposed to just a sharp wing. The tips of that false lash just at the corners just gives it a more, like I said, like a more angelic, fluttery look. All right, now moving on to the lips. We're doing a dark lip. That's another thing I haven't done in a really, really long time. This is kind of a return to makeup, a return to kind of playing and having fun with it. So I'm using the Dose of Colors lip liner. This is their collab with Ourfa. This is actually the deeper one. I usually use the more nude one. This is a little bit darker. And I'm gonna overline slightly just at the top. just to give the lips a little height. And then going in with this lipstick by YSL Beauty, the shade is 216. It's their Slim Glow Matte. So it's not super dry matte. It is a matte color, but it's very comfortable. And I'm just gonna apply this directly. And then once the lipstick is on, I'm just gonna go back with the lip liner and shape up a little bit more. And that's it for this look. It has been, like I said, so long since I dove into an intense look like this, but it's perfect for fall. I hope you enjoyed this look. If you did, let me know what you think of it in the comments, and I'll see you next time.